everyone is obsessed with like the how. Like, how am I going to make more money? How am I going to get into better shape? But the how gets answered in doing, right?
Yes.
So as you go down the road of doing, you start answering what works, what doesn't work. You start learning more. Like if you want to fucking start a podcast, it's like you can read all the shit you want on YouTube, but like,
So true.
until you actually sit down and make a podcast and fuck it up a few times, then that's when you learn. But then the next part is like the resistance that you feel when you try and move forward and learning how to overcome that.
Tango 1 at the top, we're at Pablo Cuckoo. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action, find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
All right, welcome to the Tango 1 podcast, episode 2. I'm Tony Smith. I'm a retired cop, tactical team leader, and currently the founder of the Garage Gym and Tango 1 Solutions. I'll be joined by my friend and fireman, amateur stuntman, head trainer at the Garage Gym, Casey Wright, my co-host. Our mission is to challenge you and guide you to create immediate action, take plans against your problems, weaknesses, and we want you to do more and be more. Super excited about this episode today. It is episode number 2 and our first guest ever. So we've had a couple episodes, but just been us. Today our first guest is going to be Davidfhaas.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're pumped to have you. So just do a little quick intro on Dave. Dave and I go way back as friends, like high school, early high school. And we ran in different circles, but we still hung out. There was no bad vibes between us. We were friends for sure, but we didn't hang out. And then working Olette Avenue as a cop, and I rolled by the Treehouse Bar and Grill. It had just opened up, and it was called some other thing before. Mm-hmm. And this guy walks out, and it's Davidfhaas, and he says, "I just bought this place." And at the time, we were 22 years old. Yeah. And I said to him, "Well, do you need security?" Naturally. Yeah. And he said, "Yeah, I do actually." And I started working the bar for Dave in uniform. Back in those days, it was like called pay duties. And I think our friendship just like that's when we really became friends. Really started to know each other, hanging out all the time. Dave's been an entrepreneur for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, owns the Treehouse Bar and Grill. Now he's a personal achievement specialist, a spiritual mentor, and he's dedicated to helping men and women achieve the outer success they want by doing their inner work. Nice. And that's where he's kind of helped me. So a little bit just more background into that is Dave is kind of my basically my first business coach without me ever paying you. Actually,
yeah, I'm still waiting for that check.
You paid me in. Dave's my first business coach, and he's helped me a lot to achieve and really get the ball rolling. I'm still a guy, probably the first guy I call when I need help on bouncing ideas off of. And so today I just really want to dive into that kind of stuff, like how you started a business, the personal development, because you really turned me onto that to kind of bettering yourself in all roles, and then talk about what you're doing today, because it's something that I'm really interested in, and I know it's something you and I have really spent that much time talking about, even from a friend standpoint. So when you're ready to go, Dave, let's do this.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great being here. I think platforms like these are just so amazing because it's just regular people that are, have their mindset on doing kind of extraordinary things. And I think when we get a chance to see people that are in our community that are kind of expanding and growing, it's just so nice because we're so accessible, you and I, you can just call us up or come to your gym or come to my bar and pick our brains. So, but for me, the entrepreneur thing is where I started. I knew I was an entrepreneur from the time I was 9 years old. I always tell the story, probably getting redundant now, but when I was a kid, I grew up in the county, very, very county. And you probably remember that party I had in grade 11.
I do.
That's what put me on the map, that party in grade 11 that I had. So we lived in this house in the county. And anyway, so one day this truck was going by with these tomatoes and it blew a tire and the wagon spilled tomatoes all over the road. And I went around as this little 9-year-old kid and picked up all the tomatoes in a basket, and then I went to all my neighbors and sold the tomatoes for 25 cents a piece. So it's I didn't have the awareness then, but now looking back, I'm I was a fucking entrepreneur, it was in my blood. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to do. So I went down the road of when I was 16 years old, I started my first company. It was called Squeaky Clean Window Washing. And I mean, this is really just a testament to action. I had no clue how to wash a window. Like, I literally did not know how to clean a window, but I got hooked up with a guy that was running a company. He showed me how to wash windows. And then I had 0 customers, and I just went around and like literally knocked on people's door with a squeegee and a bucket and said, "Do you want me to clean your windows at your house?" And in a very short period of time, I grew that company from having 0 customers to having like 500 customers. And these are 500 people that would call me 2-3 times a year to come to their house, clean their windows. Then it expanded into power washing, eaves troughs cleaning, just whatever people needed done. And that was like a really amazing realization for me, because I came to this point when I realized that I was never going to be unemployed. Like, if the economy collapsed, which is kind of funny that, that the economy collapsed, I would still be okay. Like, in the Great Depression, there was people that had no jobs and there was people that had 3 jobs, right? And that's where I kind of feel like it doesn't matter what happens outside of myself. I know I'm always going to be able to be okay. And as long as there's a bucket and a squeegee, I can go knock on doors and make some money, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't go down that road now. So anyways, I had that company, grew. I was doing $100K a year in sales as a 16-year-old kid, which was amazing. And then I was going to university. When I was going to university, I got a job in a bar, a nightclub called Rush Nightclub. I met some really cool guys there, Chris Fountain and Dan Maddox, that kind of like took me under the wing and showed me the industry. And when I finished university, I sold my window washing company to my stepbrother, actually, who took it over for a few years and made a good profit and living from it. And I used some of that cash plus all the cash that I had saved up from bartending 4 nights a week. And that was back in the heyday before 9/11. So like, I was literally making like $300 a night, in cash.
The good old days.
Yeah, like downtown Windsor. If you're as old as we are,
anybody who remembers that,
you remember those days, right? So I was making $300 a night in cash, and I just wasn't spending it. I was living below my means, which was amazing, because that gave me the opportunity to put some cash together. I also was resourceful, and the girlfriend I had at the time, I convinced her parents to give me a $50,000 loan, which they did, and I used the money that I had saved up, and my girlfriend at the time's parents, who were amazing, and they saw that I had drive and determination, and I think they were probably assuming that her and I were going to get married one day. It didn't happen, and but anyways, I paid the loan back completely, which is amazing that they gave me that opportunity. And I bought the Treehouse. And when I came in, there was 2 partners, and I was lucky enough to buy out one of the partners. And then Andrew Facca, who I consider like my mentor, he's the one that kind of got me down the road of personal development, spiritual growth. And it kind of all started with going veg, and that just created new awareness for me. It wasn't about the vegetarian diet. It was like the first time I actually took some time to self-reflect on what I was putting into my body. And then when that awareness came to me that, because what happened when I went veg was that I lost like 25 pounds in 30 days. Like, I was overweight, I was drinking too much. And he said, okay, this is the plan. You're going to go veg for 30 days and we're going to document it. And when I saw the results, I was like, if awareness can do this for me, what can awareness do about my finances? What can awareness do about my emotions? And I just started digging deeper and deeper, and Andrew kind of held my hand through that process. And so 20 years later, I've been running Treehouse for 20 years. It's the oldest bar downtown, if you can believe that. Like, I'm just in shock, and I've got that business to a point where it's pretty much automatic. It's running on its own, and that's why we become entrepreneurs, because we want that freedom. And in the beginning, I was completely obsessed with doing everything myself, and I learned that I had to take a step back and give my employees responsibility. And once I did that, that's when I was really started to create the freedom. And then when I created that freedom, it started to create this question: what is it that I really want to do? Forever it was about, I want to make money, but money can't be the mission. Like, this is what I teach in my coaching. It's like, it has to be a higher calling. It's because if you make money the mission, you're going to lose. It's just inevitable. And that's what I was doing. I was losing for a very long time. I tried to expand and I failed. I opened up a bunch of bars. You and I were involved in one.
Yeah, let's highlight on a couple of those things.
Yeah.
Not the failed bar. Although, you know what, man, like, no regrets. Like, we both lost some money there. That was my first business, official business, outside of helping people make fake IDs. But like, we lost there, and we learned tons from it. And there's some mistakes we won't make, but we don't spend a lot of time. I personally don't focusing on the negatives, because it's like, just don't do them again. That's simple. You know, let's focus on what went well. But like, something I want to highlight on that you said in there was, I don't want to make this about nutrition by any means. And Dave and I, which is cool about Dave and I's friendship, is like we're like we used to be almost the same.
Yes.
And we've kind of like we've stayed very alike, but on different paths, right? Like you're a very peaceful person, and I was not for quite a while, and you weren't at some point. And you know, you're vegetarian. I'm practically a carnivore. But like you said something there, like when it comes to like, I don't want to get into nutrition, but like just it's about awareness. Yes. If you're actually aware of what you're putting into your body, like at that point in your life, before you didn't start it because of all these different beliefs. You started with the awareness thing. It was like, and you just became aware of the foods you're putting in your body, and you saw results.
Yes. And
I think like if you're aware and you're accountable to Andrew at that point, that's what brings results, because you had awareness and you had accountability. Yes. But the other thing I want to talk on is like the big one that you said is you started talking about your team, and we talk a lot about in this podcast, and something we want to really expand on this podcast is teamwork. I've been around downtown being a cop and, you know, an avid bar, drinker for many years, is that those staffs roll over so often. You though, I feel like you've had these like windows of employees, not all the employees, but the key people. Like I could go back and name, these 5 during this era, these 5 during this era. Like, how did you do that? How did you maintain employees in a place that has such crazy turnover?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question. It's actually something I've really been digging into lately, especially now because I'm so removed from that business. Like I'm still managing my CEO, which is Jeremy, and I'm still managing him, and I manage the whole entire business through like a 2-hour meeting with him once a week, right? So what I've been finding now is how do I instill the same, management techniques that I had when I was running it into him. So it's kind of taken a whole new form of leadership. But the success that I had with retaining staff during the course of my running Treehouse, being the operations manager, like being hands-on there, I think it came down to this, was that I learned that it's all about integrity, right? I just don't want to fuck people over. I want to try and treat people as I would want to be treated. And that doesn't mean that I was a pushover, because I was a pushover for a very long time. I was a people pleaser. And what I learned about people pleasers is no one respects people pleasers, because all they do is say yes and agree with everybody. So I had to learn how to not be a people pleaser. And I learned that this is actually a kind of a funny story, was because I was a people pleaser, I feared confrontation, and I dug into the roots of that, and I've learned how to become free of it. But I feared confrontation, so I would walk into Treehouse, and this is in the early stages of me running it, and my employees would be sitting there playing the stupid touchscreen game, and I don't know if that even exists anymore, touchscreen games in bars, but,
right.
But there's touchscreen games that would sit on the bar, and you could play solitaire.
I think there's a few still downtown.
Okay, all right. So there's not that many around.
Somebody knows what we're talking about. I just want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about.
I'm aging the shit out of us right now. So anyways, well, my employee would be sitting there playing the touchscreen game. And this is in the middle of the day. When I first bought Treehouse, we were open 11 till 2 a.m. And then I converted it more to a bar, and we were only open like basically Wednesday through Saturday from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Now I've gone full circle, and we're back to a full restaurant again. But that's a little aside. Anyway, so I'd walk in every day, and they'd be playing the touchscreen, and I'd look around, and like there was dishes that weren't done, and there was straws on the floor, and I just wouldn't say anything. Like I just wouldn't say anything, and that was because I was a people pleaser. And then one day I walked in the bar, and I literally like lost my mind. Like I freaking threw the garbage pail. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like swearing at these people, and they were in shock. They were in complete shock. And why? Because I never expressed to them how I was actually feeling, right? Because I was fearful of this confrontation, I just avoided until it built up so much, and then I blew up. And this is, everyone knows, like, don't hold your emotions in, but there was so much more to it. So then that was just another awareness. And this is like what my coaching system is all about. It's about the 3 R's. It's like realize, which is awareness, release, be free of it, then realign, install new habits. So the awareness allowed me to, it was like the realization. Well, if I want my employees to do what I want them to do, I need to articulate that, train, support, allow them to make mistakes, and just be there.
Exactly. What you were doing there was your fault, right? What they were doing 100%. There or were not doing there was your fault. And that's like realization of that.
Yeah. Huge.
Turns you into like I mean, you're not a boss, you're a leader. Like leaders,
and it's
leaders
taking
like,
responsibility.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
your
so-
fault, man. Nobody else's.
So then the next thing for me was about the release was I had to release this people pleasing mentality about me. And then that was about like searching within. And I know we're getting deep here, but it was about why did I fear conflict so much? And it was easy for me. I went very back to when I was in grade 9, and I went to Essex High School in grade 9, and there was these like guys that wanted to beat me up every day because someone from my grade school told them that I could beat up any grade 10, and that's why I switched schools actually. And I was like, every day I was going to school and I was fearful, and that's why I feared conflict, right? Because I was like, it was just like this thing for me. So I had to do some real soul searching to be free of that fear, right? Because every time I told someone like something that was against their belief, I was like in my mind thinking I'm gonna have to get in a fight with this guy, right? And that's how I've lived most of my high school years, was like getting in fights, running from fights, and I was like, or most of my grade 9 year, I should say. Luckily, I made the switch to Villanova, and I made some of the best friends of my life, right? Which I see now as an amazing gift that happened. And then the third step is I had to realign, which is I had to install new habits, right? My habits couldn't continue to be the same. I had to start communicating with my employees, installing the policies and the procedures so that they knew that this was the checklist that they had to complete every single day. And after they completed that, they could sit down and play the touchscreen game if they wanted to. And I wasn't going to come in and blow up because the place looked immaculate, right? So I guess it's about awareness. It's about taking full responsibility, and it's just about being authentic, being your true self, and not. And if you are fearful of being your true self, digging into it and being free of it.
Yeah. Authentic is like a word that was like, it's this world right now where we have to actually tell people you're authentic. And like, it's like, and I despise it really, because you hear it over and over and over. When you're truly authentic, people know. It's like this sixth sense that all humans have. And I'm telling you, I have dealt with the worst humans in the world. Mm-hmm. Those bad guys still knew when I walked in that I was being authentic with them, that my compassion, my empathy, also my hard side was authentic. And it comes through your actions, it comes through your words. That's incredible. So one of the things that I've really like respected about you, and one of the things you really helped me with, you were there, you started your turnaround, and let's not say to the positive, because it wasn't like you were this bad human, but you drank a lot, I drank a lot. We were probably wasting a lot of money, wasting a lot of like the things we could have been putting out in this world. Yeah. And you started to make that right turn before I did in many ways. And I was going, through some very difficult things with some of the things I'd seen. And I was like looking at you and I'm like, man, why is this dude like so happy? He's so at ease, yet still so confident. Cause I always kind of thought that, I was confident dude, right? Mm-hmm. But to be at ease and happy, it's almost like you had to like back off of that confidence. How did you get to that point in your life? And because I think that was the turning point for you, and I know for sure it has been for me. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
yeah, I mean the drinking thing. If this is going to be a long podcast if I start telling all these stories, but I was a partier, and our whole group of friends were partiers, and not looking back, I'm like, yeah, we were in our 20s. That's what you did. But for me, it started to become extreme, and I began to push the boundaries of like what was acceptable when it came to drinking. And I just started coming to this awareness that I knew that this was going to be a problem for me, right? And I had this belief then that alcohol was the only thing that was standing in my way of becoming a multimillionaire, right? And it's funny, I laugh about that now because I know that there was a lot more than that. But I basically thought if I stopped drinking, I was going to be better than everybody, and I was going to be able to like propel myself forward, and I was going to be a millionaire in a year. But what happened when I realized was when I stopped drinking was that I was just the same as everybody else, because I was on the extreme end of drinking. So when I quit drinking for this reason, was because I viewed it as a barrier to my success, right? So I'm like, let me eliminate that barrier and I'm going to become successful. For the first probably 3 years, I was the most miserable fuck in the world. Like I was the dry drunk, or the dry, is that the word? I don't know, but whatever. It's like I was fun Bobby when I was drinking, and I was not fun Bobby when I was
governor.
I was miserable.
The fun governor, right?
Yeah, like I was just miserable, and that is like, because I felt like this is what, I think this is really important for people to hear. I'm glad that this came up, is that I felt that in order to achieve this level of success that I wanted in my life, I had to sacrifice. And that's what I was doing by not drinking anymore. I was sacrificing having fun with my friends so that I could become a millionaire. And that was what was the shift for me. When I made the realization that I was placing all of my happiness in the future. That's how I became happy, was because I was only going to allow myself to be happy back then, even after quitting drinking, when I had the money, right? When I had the nice house, when I drove the nice car, when I had the boat, right? That's when I was going to allow myself to be happy. And through this process, I came to this realization that I was doing it all wrong. It's like, why am I waiting to be happy at some destination? Why don't I just start figuring out how to get happy right now, right? And that's where I think I let go of the confidence and the male ego, of trying to be better than people. And I just got really connected to what it was that I needed to sort out in my own life, what I had to be free of in order to become happy. And now this is me looking back, like hindsight's 2020. It was happening organically for me just because I was starting to create awareness around what my issues were, what happened in my past, how I needed to heal from that. And just naturally, I started becoming a more happy person. And the one story I love telling is I was suppressing joy so much because of, mainly I think because of that, I was like, I'm sacrificing, I'm grinding, I'm hustling, right? That's why I'm suppressing my joy, because I'll be joyful once I get the money, right? So I just couldn't even feel joy anymore. The only time I used to feel joy was when I drank alcohol, right? Which is crazy. So the goal for me was to start learning how to feel joy without a substance. So now that I'm aware that I'm suppressing joy, Bree and I had basically, we were dating for a while, I guess, and it's probably 2 years. So that just shows you it was like a 3-year timeline it took me. And one night she's getting into bed and she's like, in her underwear, and she does a box jump into bed because we were doing a lot of CrossFit back then. And she does a box jump into bed, right? And it was just so freaking hilarious that I wanted to laugh real hard and cry. But I felt myself resisting actually feeling joy. And I just said in that moment, I was like, what am I doing? And then I just let it out for the first time in 3 years since I quit drinking alcohol. I just actually felt real joy. And when you feel real joy, it's like contagious, and it energizes you, and it's infectious.
Yes,
right?
it's infectious. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's like I no longer had to drink alcohol for people to want to be around me. They want to be around me because I was this person that was experiencing joy. Not just at one point when Bree was box jumping into the bed, but I was starting to feel it on a daily basis. And it's not constant, but I'm feeling it more and more, and people want to be around that because it's uplifting.
Yeah. Feeling the joy, that is something I can't even explain that to people, and the disconnection that you could feel at some point. And then, I'm sure a lot of the people listening feel. I remember sitting at my sister's an event there and just feeling nothing, just feeling that. And that's when you realize that, man, you got to do something to fix yourself. And that's what, we want to talk about a lot. You and I talked about before, Casey and I talk about all the time, is me with switching from being a cop to an entrepreneur, and now to even helping some more people to achieve their goals in the way that I have and that I continue to do, is that it's about your why, the mission, the purpose. For me, it was once that you helped me so much with this. We went to that survival. I ran a little backstory. I ran a survival camp, a hell week for a couple of guys. A group of 4 or 5 guys. It was awesome. And Dave came and helped me along. And I'm supposed to be proctoring this thing. And all of a sudden I realized, holy, I'm sorting a lot of shit out in my life here just by talking about it to people and listening to Dave talk and listening to the other people talk. And I kind of came to the, determination that I know what my why is. My why is to positively impact as many people as possible. And I was, I think I really got into be cop to do that. And then now all I did was switch platforms, and I'm still doing the same thing. So once I came to terms with that, it really made the decision to leave that salary behind. So let's talk about your why.
Yeah.
And let's get into dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people struggle with why, right? What's your why? What's your purpose? I was just talking to a coaching client today, and she doesn't know her why. And, for me, my why was to make money. That's what my why was for the longest time. It's I'm going to make $1 million and all. So I had to come to the realization that wasn't powerful enough, right? It's just not look at the difference between the powerful. I want to impact as many people's lives as I possibly can too. I want to make $1 million. I was the two, as I say that, I just visualize the scale just being completely tipped. It's they're not even in the same ballpark, right? They're not even in the same ballpark. So I guess I started making this determination when I switched from getting to giving. Okay. So and this happened in the bar. It was when I was in the bar business, I was starting to tune into that the more you give, the more you get, right? So I just started implementing that into my bar. I started giving more to my employees. I started giving more to my customers. I started buying them drinks now that it was actually legal to buy people drinks. I buy them drinks, and my sales skyrocketed. They like almost doubled in a very short period of time. And I'm like, oh, this is it, right? This is it. I need to be giving more. So I basically said, okay, well, what is it that I really want to do? What is my why? What's my purpose? And I determined this in a few ways. One, I did the lottery experiment where I just said, if I had everything, if money didn't matter, what would I be doing, right? Then the other thing that I said is that I said, what would I do? And this is a great question. I would like to actually get your answers. Like, what would you do if you would not fail? What would you do if you wouldn't fail? There was no chance you're going to fail. What would you do in this world?
You want to lead us in? Let the kid lead us in?
You can't fail. Let's bring Casey into this.
I don't know. That's such a difficult question because I think I'd want to stick with basically the path I'm on right now and do what I'm doing because I am enjoying. I enjoy the job I'm in. I enjoy kind of what I do at home and the life I'm living right now. So it's difficult to think of what if you fail because
you can't fail. Though you can't fail though. You can do anything you want, right? Anything you want, but you're not going to fail. So if you want to become a professional hockey player, you're going to become a professional hockey player. It's like, what is it you would do if you couldn't fail? And then so like I'll save you from this because I don't want to put you on the spot. When I think of that, I think I want to cure fucking cancer, right? Like I want to teach people how to live a life where they're going to be completely immune to any illness. And like that's the kind of things that I think about, right? It's like that really got me in touch with my why, So it's like a really deep question, but you got to search deep because the reason we don't do things is because we're fearful of what people are going to think about us. I mean, I remember when I was launching my coaching platform and putting out my first video, I was fucking scared shitless, right? Like, what are people going to think? And it's like all of this. It was all this shit. All these blocks and barriers to me actually doing what it was I wanted to do. So even my coaching platform is about, like, I believe if you were to coach with me for, let's say, a year, you're going to be so much more resilient to anything outside of yourself, right? You're going to be more resilient to heart disease, to cancer, to anything. And I see myself moving more and more towards that, right? But for me, it was about, I had to unbox all this other shit, the success and the joy and all that other stuff to start getting to that level. So when I did the lottery experiment and I said, what is it that I want to do at the end? I wrote, after I took one of the guys through this at the thing. Who was that?
I think it was Steve.
Yeah, it was Steve. Yeah, okay, yeah. Steve. So I take Steve through this thing, and I say, okay, you won the lottery, Steve. You got $500 million in the bank. And I said, what do you do? And he says, okay, I'm going to travel the world. And I said, what countries are you going to go? And he's telling me. And I said, what kind of cars are you going to buy? He's like, well, I always wanted a Mustang Shelby. I'm like, okay, you got a Mustang Shelby in the garage. I'm like, do you move house? He's like, no, I love my house. Okay, so you stay in your house. I said, you got all this money in the bank. I said, now what are you going to do, Steve? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, I really like building things and woodworking. I said, amazing. I said, now you're building things and you're building furniture in your garage and you're selling it and you create this business. I said, now what are you going to do? And he's like, well, I don't know. I said, okay, Steve, you got the busiest furniture building business in the country, in the world. And like, you're making millions of dollars selling your furniture. I said, now what are you going to do? He says, maybe I'll help people. I said, oh, thank you. After you won $500 million and you got this amazing business, and this is what it comes down to, is that if helping people is the end goal, why don't we just start helping people right now, right? And that's kind of where my coaching platform was born. It's like, I learned how to overcome my addiction to sugar, overcome my addiction to alcohol, sugar now, because I'm now clean of sugar. Let's say sex addictions. I'm not saying I was a sex addict, but I was sleeping around, let's say, right? So yeah, so like,
all right, let's move on.
All these addiction, all these blocks is what I had to overcome. And now that I see that, I'm like, I can see that I was living in a state of just constant stress, and we don't even realize that we're in stress. One tool that I've been tuning into, and this, if you're listening to this podcast, this is a great example. It's like where is your tongue in your mouth right now? Is it on the roof of your mouth? Is it relaxed in your mouth? It's like, if it's on the roof of your mouth, it's like an indicator that you're still in the state of like fight or flight. You're still in this state of stress. So how do we become free of that, right? And the way we become free of that is look through our past, our history, and become free of all of that. And that's what ultimately my why is similar to yours. I want to teach everyone what I learned, right? Like, don't make don't make happiness a destination. Like, let's learn how to get happy right now. And when you do, you're going to become stress-free. You're going to become resilient to all illness, all disease. You're going to get into amazing shape. Your relationships are going to be the most amazing. And here's the kicker. It's fucking effortless. It's effortless. It's like, there is no force for me anymore. Like, I started my coaching business a year ago, and I do like $7,000 a month in sales now. It's like, there is no effort. It's like, there's effort, but it's not, it doesn't feel like effort.
Doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like, it's like, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And like, that's how connected I am to my purpose. So like, I think that's what people need to really sink their teeth into, is like, they go out and they get a job and they do this, but it's like, they're doing a job to retire. Like, I have no desire to retire. Like, that's my saying. Like, I'm going to be doing this until I'm 100, 120, right? This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And do you know how much power there is in that? It's just like, it also takes away the impatience and the worry about money. And it's like, if I'm going to be working forever, why do I even need to worry about building up a retirement fund? I mean, I am, but I mean, like, I'm just like, I want that security, but I'm not going to retire. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
So
when I was leaving, somebody said to me, he's like, you only got to make it 12 more years. And I looked and I'm like, fucking 12 more years? I don't know if I can make it 2 more months. Like, fuck that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not like doing this to wait 12 more years of my life so that now when I'm like 60 something, and like, no offense, there's a lot of people doing that, but I hope you're doing it happy, like, and I was not, and that's up to you to decide. There's nothing wrong with going after that security, looking forward to your retirement if you're happy within that time frame, that like you said really earlier in this thing, the now, right? And I know like Casey's talked about it tons with the fire departments and things. He's just really happy now and okay with it, because the cards will fall where they may. And at the end of the day, he's helping people here. He's going to be helping people when if he continues after the fire department, that's just the way it is.
The key is helping people. It's like, whatever business you're in, I don't care if you're a fucking janitor or if you're cleaning a house, or not to downplay those. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a trainer at a gym, if you're a life coach, if you own a bar, there's ways to help people. I mean, one of my first clients came to me from the bar, right? I'm also helping in the bar business. I'm helping my manager learn how to grow and learn the spiritual principles that I learned that allowed me to be happy now. I'm helping my employees. I employ 35 people. It's like, I'm helping people, right? My customers come in. I'm delivering amazing value. I'm not ripping people off. I don't cheat the system. I don't cheat on my taxes. I don't compete with my competitors downtown and talk bad about them. I'm just happy and I'm helping people. And you don't have to be a life coach or in the actual field of like helping people, in that collective field. But you could be a janitor and doing the best job, so that when those kids come to school, they don't reach their hand on their desk and touch gum. Like, that's helping people, right? So it's just, if you make the beginning helping people, everything becomes easy, and you get out of that state of force, you move to the state of flow, right? So it's just about getting connected to how you can give back and how you can incorporate that into your current job, because it is in giving that we receive.
Awesome. Yeah. I want to put in a read-in right now. So the Tango One podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Axl Films. Axl is a video production company providing creative strategies and powerful video marketing campaigns like the one you're watching right now. They provide creative video services for small and large companies alike. They've worked with companies like ourselves, the Garage Gym, making incredible, more than just a gym video, and some other things that we're really pumped about releasing. They've even done the ring ceremonies for the Toronto Raptors. Axl has experience. They're working on creating your brand and bringing video marketing, which you, Dave, know is so important in today's day and age, to make sure you're out there, because people are looking for that video, looking for that visual. Axl's been with the Garage Gym since basically day one. They supported us on every community event that we've ever done. They are an all-in-one video production service. They're offering everything in-house, from strategy, concepts, and writing to producing, capturing, and editing your final branded videos. Visit axlfilms.com and tell them Tango One sent you. So we've really tried to our best. This is episode, really, we call it episode 2, but we had an episode 0, so it's really episode 3.
All right.
To really avoid this whole fucking COVID nonsense, and like, not nonsense, it's not a thing to be ignored, but it's also something not to be allowed to consume you. And that's the only part I really want to talk about with this with you. And we'll see where it goes. Maybe we'll get into a little bit more, but like, I see a lot in what you do. Obviously, I'm a big fan of yours. Follow you on Instagram and, you know, everything you do. And we talk all the time. This is really consuming a lot of people. And let's talk about this more from like a business and a self-growth. This is not a time, you keep saying it, this is time to expand. Yeah. And we're really trying to do that here. I want you to just tell me more about that. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost that this has created an opportunity for you to install the habits that you have been avoiding installing because you're too busy. You know, like we're so busy being busy, but it's like, are you busy or are you productive? And now you don't have the excuse that you have to go to work or you have to, I know some people are still working, but like, it's just all the distractions are gone. You're not visiting family and friends. You're not going out to dinner. Like, it's just all the distractions are completely out the window. So for me, what I think about this is like, what is it highlighted for you? Like, what is really come up on your radar? And for me, one of the things, and to give you my own example, was that my diet, even though I still am a vegetarian, I eat a pretty healthy diet, but I was eating a lot of sugar, and I've been addicted to sugar since I was 9 years old. That would be a whole nother podcast about why that happened.
Let me stop you right there. Yeah. I apologize earlier. I said I called you a vegan. That's me. That's me and my Neanderthalness.
Yeah, it's all good.
Putting them all in one. No. He's a vegetarian.
Yeah, vegetarian.
Different.
I mean, I basically eat a 90% vegan diet, but if I go out to a restaurant, I don't like care if they put butter in my mashed potatoes or whatever. So, anyway, so I basically, what was I talking about here? Oh, what is it highlighted? What's it highlighted? And for me, it highlighted that my immune system probably isn't functioning to its maximum potential right now because I'm eating a high sugar diet. Like when I was a kid, I basically had to raise myself as a kid. My dad was there for me, but he just wasn't taking care of us. And so if you put a 7-year-old, because it was really at 7 when this happened, in charge of his diet, he's not going to eat like very good food. So my diet consisted of chocolate bars, chips, hot dogs, peanut butter and jam, Lucky Charms, Pop-Tarts, like anything that could be made in an instant, that's what I ate. And so that developed a very terrible pattern and habit for me. So now, and I've been trying to break that habit for, 41 years essentially. And I've gone off and on different things. And then finally I was like, this is my opportunity here. Like all the distractions are gone. And I just finally decided to put the habit in place. And now I'm free of that addiction. It's been 4 weeks that I haven't had any sugar, any pop, anything, right? And it's like, wow, that was amazing. And
I like when you say that. Anything.
Yeah, nothing.
anything.
Nothing. But I'm telling you, it's like overcoming a sugar addiction is one of the hardest things to do. But the other thing is that we get into this belief system. We buy into the news that like the whole world's shutting down and nobody's doing anything. And, when you're in it, it's very hard to see. I have this thing on my website that says, it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. And I'll give you an example of this. When I was I'm not going to say poverty, but in scarcity mindset, I literally was never making my payments on time. I was missing mortgage payments. My car actually got repossessed at one point in my life. And it's just like I was in the jar of scarcity, right? And through my personal development and spiritual growth, I got out of that. I got out of scarcity and I moved to abundance, right? Where money wasn't scarce to me anymore. Money's abundant to me. It's like I have the capacity to make millions of dollars. I know what's going to happen, right? And I mean, already I'm at a level that I want to say I never thought I would be at, but was completely out of reach 10 years ago, right? So anyways, I'm in the bank one day and now I'm in abundance mindset. So this is, in the future. And I look over and this guy is complaining to the teller about a missed payment or a bounced check or something. And I was like, how is this happening? Like, the economy is amazing. And he's saying things like, in this economy, you can't expect everyone to pay their bills. And that's who I was, right? I was this guy that was in scarcity. But I didn't even make the connection. I thought everyone had moved to abundance, right? Which is crazy because it was just like, oh, the economy's booming and this is why I got the money in my bank. But I came to the realization it wasn't the economy, right? It was my mindset that had shifted, right? So the same thing is with the COVID, right? It's like you can get into the mindset that the world's shutting down, but when you really look at it, actually 80% of the world is still functioning. People still have jobs, right? Like all healthcare is still working. All these essential services are still working. All the major auto industries, like the top executives are still working. My buddy Craig is working at GM still from home. And it's like the world is still going, right? So don't take an opportunity. Sit back and relax and say, hey, it's nice to relax for a week. That's fine, a week. But don't shut down because the world is not shutting down and we are going to get through this. So the question is, do you want to be better when this thing is over or do you want to be worse? And I want to be better. I mean, I'm already lost 10 pounds and I'm running every day and getting into shape. I'm like, this is my time to expand. I signed up in the months leading up to COVID, I signed up when everyone else was thought, oh, this is like the world shutting down. I signed up like $7,000 on new clients, right? People think that the world is shutting down, and I'm like, I'm signing up more and more people, right? And so it's like, no, it's all about the mindset.
Yeah. And like you talk about that guy in the bank. The guy in the bank's mindset was, this is the world's fault. This is the economy's
100%.
fault. This is, you know, and that's something like, you know, Casey was awesome for this from day one. Like, hey, we're here to the mission, right? To impact a lot of people positively. He put out a post, what it was like 1 day in, super positive post, like, hey, this, not a post, it was actually a message to the group. And I'm like, man, this kid gets it. My team gets it. You said something to the effect of, hey, this is what it's all about. We're making great things in a shitty situation. Let's get everybody excited to be here and make a difference in their lives. And it's like, you know what? We have not backed down from that. You know, yes, are there some people that are in some hardships that have to put their memberships on hold? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? We're not going to go the wrong way here. We're taking the high road. I am not seeking out these government assistance unless it's absolutely needed. We are going to continue. There's ways to, you know, cheat the system, and you know that. You talked about integrity earlier.
Yep.
Like, you know, if we take that one step, if I take that one low road, I just showed to everybody who trusts in me, these people that are in the know, that my inner circle, that I'm willing to take the low road. And like, that's very, very important. And I think people have to realize it. Pandemic, like, you know, we will get through it. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family. Absolutely. Don't shut down, but shut down. Like, shut down the shit. Like today we yelled at people, like, you can't give 40 minutes without your phone.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing with the whole pandemic situation, is you kind of see where people stand, and you can either jump onto it and look at it in a negative way and be all upset, woe is me, for however long or how many ever weeks this goes on for, or you can kind of flip the switch right away, like it's happening. Right. So now it's either we, you know, turn it on, we try to find some positive out of it. Maybe we can benefit from this. What's happening? Let's do the best we can. I think this gym community in itself is a place that people kind of look to for answers sometimes. I think the way this membership has grown, people do kind of come to us for answers sometimes. And so us having it right away, sitting down, we met together kind of days leading up to everything going on and started getting these contingency plans up. And you know what, as soon as it was time to make the call, we did, and it was no looking back. We went straight to work, and you know, from that we were moving, and the momentum was high, and some long days, but it was good. We came out, I think, on top in the way of just, now our momentum's here. We're making the best of the situation. Yeah,
I think the question that people should be asking at home is like, that is like what I said, is like, what is it highlighted for you? Is like, is your financial situation all messed up? Well, I mean, it's not messed up because of COVID. It was messed up leading into this. Like, if this thing would have happened to me 10 years ago, I would have been screwed on day 2. Like, I would have been out of money on day 2, literally. Like, I was already out of money, so like I would have been screwed, right? But now I'm in a place where, like, I mean, this thing can last years, and I'm going to be okay, right? So if it's highlighting your financial situation, that means you got to get your financial house in order. If you're stressed out, right? So that means you're probably stressed out all the time, right? So it's like, it's highlighting, hey, this is like the moment in time where, you know, the things that are really truly troubling you are kind of like on steroids, and they're being forced into the forefront. So you can choose to run for them, or you can choose to confront them and say, what's really happening here, right? So stress, fear, anxiety, whatever is going on, it's just being highlighted. So now is your opportunity to take a real deep look and learn how to be free of it.
Right. Take immediate action. That is, if there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action. Find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. We talked about resilience. That's a core value here. Resilience is only built through experience, in my opinion, and obstacles and conquering them. Walk through fire, come out the other side. This is your opportunity. Build resilience, 100%. Cut out the shit, cut out the fat, and move forward. And so, like, let's kind of end it on that note. But the one thing I want to talk about, you know, I've invested significantly. I say how you're my first coach, you're my free coach. Mm-hmm. I got you while you're cheap. But like, so you list on your like Instagram, on your social media, that you're a personal achievement specialist. Explain that, what that is, what you do. This is your chance. Promote, man. Let's hear what you got.
Yeah, well,
make your pitch.
Yeah, well, I believe that we have barriers to our success. Okay, so you have something that you want to achieve in your life, and then what happens to most people is that they get completely wrapped up in the how. Like, how am I going to become a professional golfer, let's say, okay? It's like they want to buy courses and get lessons and do all these things. And yeah, you need that stuff. But really how you learn is through doing, right? When you turn it down to break it down to something easy like golf, it's like, if you want to become a scratch golfer, like, what's the process? Well, go to the driving range 3 times a week for 2 hours, go to the chip and putt range 2 times a week for 2 hours, and play golf 2 or 3 times a week. You're probably eventually going to end up becoming a scratch golfer. It's that simple, right? It's in the how, it's in the doing that the how gets answered, okay? So that is the same thing with personal development. It's like, just if you start going down the road and asking the questions, by the actual act of doing, the how will get answered. So the next thing though that will come up though is like, let's use the golf example, is like, if you want to be a scratch golfer and you start going to the driving range, on day 1 you go to the driving range for 3 hours and you're like hitting golf balls and you're fucking sweating and you're like, I'm gonna fucking kill this. Day 2 you go to the putting green and you're chipping golf balls and you're putting, you're there for an hour and a half. Day 3 comes around and all of a sudden your buddies call you up and say, hey, we're all meeting for lunch at Treehouse Bar and Grill. Like, why don't you come meet us, right? And you're like, well, I'm supposed to go hit golf balls at the driving range, but I can probably go down there for a few beers, right? And then what happens the next day? Well, maybe you get back on, but maybe you fall off, right? And maybe you have to pick up the kids or something. And then it's like, so all these things. So what that resistance is, those resistance, just like the COVID-19 thing, that resistance is your clue. It's a window. It's like a window to look through that window and say, what is this resistance? And what that resistance is your barrier to success, meaning it's self-doubt. It's the feeling of unworthiness. It's the feeling of shame from shit that happened to you in your past that you haven't dealt with, right? And we come to this, when we hit these barriers, you have a choice. You can either try and jump over them and hurdle them and put a ton of effort forth. And this is why we see people that rise, they rise to the top and they fall. I always use the example of the Jared guy from Subway, right? This guy that was like this huge overweight guy, and he made his fortune by eating Subway sandwiches and losing a bunch of weight and became their spokesperson. But then he got arrested for like child pornography or some shit, right? Because he rose to the top and he failed, right? And why is that, right? So if you use something like anger to fuel your success, meaning your dad said, you're never going to be a successful entrepreneur. You're like, fuck you, dad. Of course I'm going to be. And you went hard, you became an entrepreneur and you made millions of dollars. And then you go to your dad and say, now what do you got to say? He's like, yeah, good job. And you're like, oh,
Now what?
yeah, now what, right? And that's why you see a lot of celebrities fall, because their success is like, it's a grind. All of a sudden they get it and it comes quick. Like it's like a very like sharp curve. And then they have to ask themselves, like, who am I really? Like, this money that I thought was going to make me happy didn't, right? And you hear people on Instagram say, money doesn't make you happy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, money makes things easier, right? It's like, of course it does. And it gives you the opportunity to help people. But if you haven't answered those questions that are going on inside, if you haven't dealt with those blocks to your success, they're going to continue to be blocks. The great thing about uncovering these blocks, though, is that once you uncover them, they're uncovered for good. And I think, Tony, in some way, you're in a testament to that, because you've been able to achieve success in almost everything that you've done, right? So you see guys like that are able to excel in one sport, and then they can move to another sport really quickly. I remember this guy, Mark Durant, that I used to be friends with. He was an IHL hockey player, and then he started golfing after his hockey was done. Within like a year and a half, he was golfing under par. And I was like, what does he have that I don't? Right? Well, it was nothing. We're the same. We're all one. We're all interconnected. We're all the same, right? What he was able to do is he had tools to push past those barriers of resistance. What I do as a coach is I help you identify what those resistances are and help you just clear them away completely. So it's like, you can either choose to run a 100-meter sprint and have to jump every hurdle every 10 meters to get there, or we could clear those hurdles out of your way and you can go there with ease. That's the difference between doing something with force. You're jumping the hurdles, and you're pushing you're pushing because you're driven by anger or by guilt or by shame. Whereas when the hurdles are removed, you're in a state of force and you're driven by your desire to help people, to do more, to grow, to uncover your true purpose, to make a difference in this world.
Yeah. What's your goal? What's the obstacle? Let's figure out a way to remove it. Take action, right?
100%.
So we're going to wrap that up right there. Dave, just tell us how we can get a hold of you, or if somebody's interested in what you have to offer, or just to shoot the shit with you, because you're a motivating guy and you offer some things that, man, like, I think a real individual to this area
Yeah. I mean, I think the greatest thing I said at the beginning of the podcast, that both Tony and I, is that we're accessible. We're not Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or whatever. We're just guys that have achieved, a decent level of success and started to come to awareness of what's blocking us. And now we're on the road. I think both of us are on the road to experiencing some real success, like real high level success. And the thing that is great about that is that we're here and we're accessible. Like, I can help anybody start a business. I've been in business for 25 years. Like, I don't care what you want to do. It's like, you want to create an app, I'll help you do that. You want to start a bar, I'll help you do that. Like, I can help you do anything. Like, I mean, help you with a strategy about opening the gym. It's like, I don't own a gym. It's like, but I just understand business at my core. So that's one way I think I help people. But the way you can get in contact with me is just go to my website. It's davidfhaas.ca. And right now, actually, I have a 10 ways to expand free PDF. You can download that. But also, I have like a 20-minute, 30-minute consultation that you can just click on that, book a call with me. And I mean, the best way to get to know someone is just to get on the phone with them. So we'll have a 30-minute call. I'll deliver you like as much value as I possibly can. And at the end, if we feel like there's something there and we can work together, I'll put together a program for you. My clients have been having insane success. Like, what I want to do for my clients is what took me 15 years. I want to narrow that down to like a year for them. Like, I don't want them to have to go through what I went through for 15 years. It's like, let's shrink that. And that's the benefit of a mentor. Like, a good mentor makes the dedication to the student and not the other way around. Usually you say the student has to dedicate to the teacher, but no, it's like, I'm truly invested in these people's success, right? Like, I don't care if I have to talk to them, every day for an hour a day. I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that they succeed. Obviously, they have to be putting forth the same amount of effort, right? Like, I always tell my clients, it's like, I'm 10%, you're 90%. Like, I'm just your guide, but I'm going to get you there a lot quicker.
Yeah, everybody needs a coach. And Dave Haas is a hell of a one. I can attest for that. I thank you for everything you helped me with. Crazy honor that you're the first guest we've had. I mean, I've been on yours a couple times. You got a great podcast, and we just jive, man. We get each other, even though we've gone like we've taken different routes to get to where we are. We've always stayed connected, and that's proof that having contrasting opinions and contrasting personalities isn't a deal breaker, because we've remained best of friends, and I mean, we are the epitome of that.
Yes,
right.
100%.
But our core beliefs are still the same. So
yeah, man.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for having me. I look forward to doing it again.
Case, that's a wrap, buddy.
I'm saying it. That was awesome. Everything's going to be linked down below. All these clickable links. David Haas's website will be there available to you. His downloadable PDF, and also Tango One Solutions website as well.
Yes. All right.
Wrap.